Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ariel and I'm an herbalist, and I like to talk about plants that are safe and easy to use. Wow, what an intro. What else can I say? Today we're talking about hawthorn tree. Hawthorne berry is one of my favorite herbs to use. It's safe, it's effective, it slows your heart rate and calms your anxiety, which is exactly what I need like every second of every day. It doesn't taste like amazing, but that's okay. It's not bitter like many other herbs. But before I start rambling, let me show you what I'm drinking. Doing the old like influencer, show the product situation. This is just a cooled down hawthorn tea, otherwise I wouldn't be putting it in plastic. It tastes like the mildest LaCroix version of a raspberry. I harvested a bunch of hawthorn berries. They just look like tiny little red apples. Today we're going to be making a strong decoction, which is a simmering type of tea that you make on your stove, and it's a really good way to extract the medicine from hawthorn berries. So who's ready to learn? Let's talk about this wild, untamed, beautiful, flowery tree. Hawthorn trees are found pretty much worldwide. We certainly have a lot of native hawthorns here in North America. I'm speaking from a Pacific Northwest perspective because it's where I live, and the ones I see the most around here are the English hawthorn and the black hawthorn. Those species, well, all hawthorn species, are called Crataegus. Crataegus is the name of a genus, which includes all the species, and that genus Crataegus means hawthorn, and botany, like taxonomy, kind of bores me, so we will move right along. It is important to know the Latin names of things so that we all know what each other is talking about, though. Hawthorn trees are pretty small. They're often like little shrubs or even bushes. Sometimes they can get kind of big, like 30 feet tall, but that's not that big in the realm of trees. Mostly you'll find them in like overgrown farmlands and abandoned neighborhoods and things like that. So some of the characteristics of hawthorns are that they have nasty long thorns. They usually have this kind of lobed, teethy leaf shape. So hawthorn is in the rose family. It's a huge plant family with pretty much your favorite cool climate fruits and berries. The apples, peach, plum, pears, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, all those aggregate fruits. The fruits of the rose family are universally edible if you know what to look for. The plant parts usually occur in sets of 5, like 5 sepals, 5 stamens, 5 petals, 5 arrangements of leaves. I sound so smart. Let me be really specific about the edibility of rose family fruits. The rose family often has leaves and seeds that can contain toxic cyanide compounds. Hawthorn seed has amygdalin, one of those fun cyanogenic compounds. You have to crush it pretty good to extract any appreciable amount when cooking the fruit or tea. I always have to put a little disclaimer here that all my content is for entertainment and information. I'm not your mom, I'm not your doctor, and I'm not your only source of knowledge. Be a responsible internet person. Anyway, let's talk about the hawthorn berries. Hawthorn trees are both great and terrible for landscaping, and our ancestors considered them both good and bad luck. They're great in landscaping because pollinators love them. You can build a really effective living fence for your livestock in the fields, or for bad guys, or I don't know, cryptids. Some people don't like hawthorn trees because they are difficult to maintain because they grow like gangbusters and are kind of messy with their fruit and their thorns, just getting all up in everything. And the flowers are just extraordinarily stinky. I would say if you have limited space, I don't know if I'd consider hawthorn for my house, but if you have lots of space, then they're amazing. So people eat English hawthorn. Then they eat like the new leaves and buds in the spring, like as like a forageable wild food. Chinese hawthorn berry is apparently a delicious street food. It's larger and sweeter than the Western varieties. Chinese hawthorn has a sweeter taste and larger berries, and it treats food stagnation patterns. Food stagnation is slow digestion, like abdominal fullness. A lot of us are walking around with inefficient digestion. What I have for you today is English hawthorn, Crataegus monogyna. That means hawthorn one seed, because they have one seed. English hawthorn can be made into syrups, jellies, basically like iced sweet teas. Those are its main culinary uses. So let's make a tea out of hawthorn, and we can talk about its medicinal benefits. Really, we're making a decoction, not a tea, technically, and that's a long simmer of herbs that extracts their healing powers most effectively. But first, I have to process all this. I'm such an ambitious harvester, and then I have to painstakingly pick out all the good berries. I digress. Let me tell you about hawthorn medicine. The biggest thing it does is that it makes your heartbeat stronger and slower. So I have that POTS thing, the TikTok disease. People might not like it that I call it that, but if I can't mock myself, I'll be so boring and still a fainting goat. Anyway, so hawthorn helps me so much when I get dizzy, and it helps me with my heart palpitations that when I'm stressed, I experience those all day, every day. Sometimes I drink so much of this tea, it gives me a faint echo of Xanax. Am I allowed to say that here on YouTube? I'm just gonna give y'all my full unhinged era. Drink a cup of hawthorn berry tea and tell me you don't feel chilled out, cool, and in control of your emotions. Hawthorn does lower your blood pressure, perhaps because it's a circulation enhancer and it boosts coronary artery flow, so I'm not experiencing those dips in blood pressure. If you're already on harder blood pressure medicine, definitely tread carefully here. I wouldn't worry about consuming a bit of hawthorn, but too much could intensify the effects of your medication. I consider hawthorn an overall cardiac tonic, over time lowering fatty blockages, strengthening the heart muscle itself, raising our capacity for exercise, nourishing our blood, literally feeding our heart what it needs with its mineral and antioxidant content. A quick note here to breastfeeding moms. I personally use this tea frequently. There is a risk that too much hawthorn in the milk supply could lower a baby's blood pressure too much, which is obviously no bueno. It's unlikely that 1 cup of tea will harm. In fact, it could really help your postpartum anxiety. But you know your baby, so watch out for unusual fatigue if you're considering using hawthorn berry. It is considered safe by elactation.com, which is a resource I appreciate because they use a lot of European studies about herbs, which can be more thorough and somewhat less biased by the American pharma cartel. The top Google search of hawthorn and breastfeeding will just tell you that hawthorn and pretty much all herbs are unsafe for breastfeeding. And then your doctor will literally just give you Prozac or whatever. You have to dig deeper when trying to find out if an herb or supplement is right for you. And start off with small amounts, checking your tolerance, of course. Wow, the amount of times I catch myself starting my New World Order rants. Hawthorn is said to be a fairy tree because of the way its leaves are always dancing, even without a breeze in sight. It's bad luck to cut down a lone tree in a field. But why would you want to? Just build a barn somewhere else, I don't know. Hawthorn blooms around Beltane and May Day in the Northern Hemisphere, and there's a lot of evidence that it was the OG maypole. Maple is such a happy day, and also a spicy day for our ancestors because of spring fever and fertility and whatnot. The interweaving ribbon dance, showing the marriage of masculine and feminine, is what maypole is all about. Traditionally, young girlies, we wore hawthorn crowns hoping to find our man. Hawthorn symbolizes fertility in its rich red color, showing that it brings life to our blood. The absolute abundance of fruit it bears also symbolizes fertility. Those branches are heavy with fruit. Remember when I mentioned the stinky flowers? There is an old superstition about not bringing them inside, because they smell like death. It makes sense because they smell this way to attract the flies that pollinate them, and flies in the house can bring disease. Once again, our very wise ancestors are made to look silly and superstitious when history writers didn't understand the reasons for things. When the hawthorn tree flowers, it marks the turn from spring to summer. Late spring is an active time for the realm of fairies, according to the Celts. Sleeping under a tree was probably a bad idea because you're liable to be kidnapped by the tricksy fae. I know some of you are going to try it now. You're going to try sleeping under a hawthorn tree. Enjoy your weird-ass dreams. Definitely research fairy disappearances. They are a lot like UFO reports. My ancestors in Ireland talked about the Sheed, the Unseelie, or the Tuatha De Danann, who arrived in flying ships. The world is often weirder than we know. I feel such a heartwarming yet mischievous energy from hawthorn trees, like their fruitful branches hold a lot of secrets. So this is the hawthorn decoction. It's so deep red and beautiful. I hope some of you guys get to identify this close to your home and discover a whole new cool thing to harvest. Anyway, I love y'all lots. Stay wild. Bye!